through enduring hardships. The tears of pain I shed today will be the tears of joy I shed tomorrow. The brave never fall. We rise and maintain balance through freedom and connection. I'm Coach mjdtiger, life coach and mentor. Helping others find their passion, peace, and purpose in life brings me my passion, peace, and purpose in life. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Welcome to Vibes. Bad days build empathy within us. No one is privileged enough to be completely void of bad days. Bad days are just tools for learning, growth, and gaining more understanding. Inevitably, when the good days arrive, do all you can to cherish them, and whatever possible, to replicate them. We're not guaranteed any day, let alone a good day. Good days are powerful because we appreciate them so much more, even if we're not really even focused on the fact that we're enjoying and appreciating and cherishing a good day. Deep down inside, subconsciously, we are more appreciative of good days because we know that they're rare. They really don't happen all that often, where you wake up from morning to night and you have a complete full day without any issues, without any drama. Just a great day. You got everything accomplished. You did what you wanted to do. You was able to relax. You were productive. Whatever it is you would consider to be a good day. Those days are so rare. And when we can really dive into that and we find out what made those days the best days they possibly could be, then we can find ways to replicate as much of that good day as possible. That's where the bad days actually have and hold value, because we can look at those as well and say, I don't want to replicate those. I want to replicate the good days. And that's what life is all about. Through discipline, rituals, habits, these are things that will make us better each day. We replicate the good and we jettison the bad. There's no place for the bad. There's always a place for the good. And we can smile and be happy in that. Each day we get more opportunities to learn how to embrace the good and stay in that good and replicate it and jettison those bad days, those bad people, places, and things that have no place in our story, in our life. How are you feeling? How are you feeling mentally, within your mind? How are you feeling physically, within your body? How are you feeling emotionally, within your heart? How are you feeling spiritually, within your soul? These are things I ask myself daily, morning, throughout the day, and at night before I head to bed. For peaceful and powerful sleep, I ask myself, in my mind, body, heart, and soul, how I'm feeling, and I ask you and encourage you to do the same in this moment. Take a moment of silence and ask yourself, how are you feeling? No one can ignore who we are, nor can they doubt what we've seen. We're cut from a different cloth. Words of disrespect splits from the seams, just to see if we bleed. We have the power to respond with grace with our passions and dreams. When we achieve independently, or with support from our teams, we give more by all means. There's no stopping a flawed heart that is purposely redeemed. Remember that. Your heart may go through disappointments, failures, rejections, sadness, remorse, regret. We have to forgive ourselves, forgive the ones who have broken our hearts, and we move on feeling redeemed, rejuvenated, and ready to do something with that experience, or those experiences that got us to that particular point in the first place. Today is a new day. Smile and get going. Vibes, Episode 3. Don't worry, don't give up, give more. The don't give up, give more concept is something that I personally came up with for myself, particularly in situations where what I thought I would give up, and I would say, you have to turn this negative experience into a positive. And what is the most powerful way of doing that? In this moment, what is the one way you can guarantee yourself that you could do something positive in this moment that is super negative, extra super negative? What you can do is don't give up. You find a way to somehow give more out of this situation, meaning you're going to learn something from this and you're going to create and turn it into something positive in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't even have to relate to what that particular issue is. It just means you have to look at the situation as something that you can learn from and an opportunity to turn that corner and be at that crossroads moment where you say, this is going to change my life. But if it's going to change my life, I'm in the driver's seat in some aspect of this. I will turn this negative situation to a positive, and I will guarantee myself that I will become a better person out of the situation. That is where the don't worry part comes in. And it's hard not to worry when we're going through things. It's hard not to worry when we're feeling we have our backs pressed against the wall and we're doubting every person, place, and thing around us. We're doubting everything around us, from our careers to our religion. We could be doubting all kinds of things. We go through this every single day. The goal is to get to a baseline where we will not deviate from a certain baseline of trust within ourselves. Once we find it and it works for us, we will keep it, we will hold on to it, and we will build upon it. And that is a very important part about anything in life. It's the presence that we have in our own moments and what our roles are in those moments. What responsibilities do we have in moments where we're about to give up? Because in a lot of times in those moments, what we tend to do as human beings, we want to blame somebody else. We want to point the finger at someone else, and we'll say, or someplace else or something else, and say, this person, place, or thing is the reason why I am in this eternal misery I'm feeling at this moment. And instead of trying to figure out a way to dig out of it, it's just easier, more convenient to point the finger at someone else, something else, someplace else, and say, reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3 of why I'm in misery. And in that sequence of mindset, in our subconscious, we're already creating a habit. So whenever that situation pops up again, that's our get out of jail free card. It worked the last time. All we have to do is go back to 1, 2, 3, I'm out of misery. These people, places, and things are making me miserable. Therefore, I am miserable. When it should be the complete opposite. It should be me, I'm in misery. Because we are the common denominator. We hold the torch of our own lives. The short story I'm going to share today for this podcast is called The Utopian Tree. It's the concept that I've talked about a lot in The Brave Never Fall. It's a concept that is a core concept about a tree. About not just about a tree, it's about what it stands for, and that it's actually a metaphor for our lives and all the things that we have that a tree doesn't. But a tree doesn't make excuses. This is story number 2. It's called The Utopian Tree. "Hey, son," the old man said to the boy. "You see me every day and ask me why you fail. Why you can't make the money, can't get the girl, can't finish school. That you can't. The boy lowered his eyes from the intense gaze from the old man. "Excuses have no place in this world, boy," the old man continued. The setting sun was just a visual reminder of another day, another bad day for the boy. He managed a quick glance at the horizon. It was beautiful, yet in this moment all he felt was hopelessness. The weight of the day and the countless disappointing ones before that were taking a toll upon him. Leaning against the only tree upon the hilltop they were currently on, the old man pointed to the tree branches above, which stretched easily over 30 feet tall. "This tree has been here for more than 500 years. It's still strong, healthy, and continuing to grow each day," the old man said. "Problem is, it's alone, at risk from storms, disease, even humans. Anyone could easily come and chop it down, cut it up, use it for firewood. I always called this tree my utopian tree. So majestic and powerful, perfect in every way, except that it could not save itself from its fate, even if it wanted to. We have a gift. We get to choose." The boy looked from the horizon to the tree. "Even if that was to happen, this tree would have served its purpose," the old man said, gently patting the tree as if it were an old friend. "Unlike this tree, we as human beings have the option for not standing in one place our entire lives, son." Pointing at the setting sun, the old man put his reassuring hand upon the shoulder of the boy. "I'm your father, not your therapist." The boy smiled and nodded in agreement. "I know, Dad." "You know what you have to do, son. You're just waiting and hoping for the best things in life to come easily for you. That may happen. I'm not saying it won't. But just imagine how much stronger you'll feel if you went out there and created what you wanted, instead of waiting." The boy looked into his father's eyes again. This time, the old man saw understanding in his son's eyes. A young man on the edge of adulthood, at the edge where the right turn on the wrong path would be a life-changing moment. "I know sometimes I seem more like your grandfather than your dad. You came into this world unexpectedly so late in my life. But seeing your eyes for the first time made me feel young again. You brought me a new sense of purpose, a clean slate, a fresh start," the old man said, his hands on the boy's shoulders. "Remember, son, always remember, that is not what you take from this world. It's what you give to it that makes you special." The old man hugged his son tightly. The boy could feel the positive energy coming from his father's embrace. He believed in him, and although he was at a breaking point, the boy knew from that moment on that he would forever remember this moment as the moment he would intentionally turn his life around. No more excuses, no more waiting. It was time to create, to go for what he wanted. The relationships, finances, better health, all of it. He realized it was upon him, and him only, to create through purpose what he felt called to do. Like his father said, finding purpose and fulfilling it is never easy. But the alternative is becoming the utopian tree, strong, full of purpose, but going nowhere. It wasn't time to give up. It was time to give more. I wrote that story with the complete mindset of having a small display of what we as human beings go through when we're under stress and anxiety and uncertainty about who we are and what we can do in life. It's not easy. It really isn't easy at all. Nobody says it is. And anyone who says to you that life is easy, what life are they living? Maybe their lives are a little bit too comfortable. Maybe they're thinking about what they would do in your shoes, but in the wrong sense. There is a such thing as having empathy towards someone, but you're not seeing totally what all of the other factors that come into that person's life when it comes to them dealing with what they have to deal with. What one person is dealing with, another person would deal with it completely different based on their past experiences. You give the same situation to two different people, they're going to handle that same problem in completely different ways. And it's only after they've completed the task and you ask them, how'd you go about it? You get the versions of them and you'll see maybe they came up with the same outcome, took two totally different paths. And that is what's interesting about life. And I think that is what is so troublesome for a lot of us. And I know I went through this where maybe there are too many options. Maybe there are too many people talking in our ears, telling us that we should do this and we should do that. It can be very overwhelming to have people every single day tell you, you should do this, you should do that. Unsolicited advice, bad advice, wrong advice, great advice. It's kind of hard to go through all of that. So there has to be some level of a baseline again, where we go back to and say, well, despite all this information and feedback that I'm getting positively and negatively and indifferent, I'm going to always default back to what I, through my intuition, is going to give me a full body yes, a full body no, or a subtle no. Meaning we have to trust ourselves. That's the only way we can actually give more, is we have to give through trust. And yes, we can believe in other things. We can believe in higher power. We can believe in other people. We can believe in course correcting and making all these changes. But if we don't believe in the current version of ourselves that we can even do these things, then the belief in all the external, all the rest of it, really, what does it mean? What does it mean to believe in something more than yourself if you don't trust who you are in this moment? How can you really trust yourself to believe in anything if you don't trust yourself? It's a disconnect. It just doesn't make any sense. The more we trust ourselves, the more powerful the things that we believe in will be. The more we trust ourselves, the more powerful our experiences through purpose will be. The more powerful our connections will be because we know who we are. We will attract who we are. We will attract anything and everything in this world when we trust ourselves that will be aligned to us. There will always be moments where we will end up like that utopian tree, where we feel stuck, where we feel like we're vulnerable. Anybody at any time can come and chop us down. A fact of life. Things that doesn't always make us smile. But the good thing about it is we're not trees. We're human beings. I use the utopian tree metaphor because it is, a tree being there and can just get cut down. It can't move. What is it going to do? That's not to say we should go outside and pity the trees. They are living their lives. And again, if they're chopped down and used for firewood to keep somebody warm or to cook someone's food, they served their purpose as a tree. Now, us as human beings, we have the ability to actually move, to make choices, to not just stand there. And that is what this is all about. This meaning life. It is about you exploring every aspect of what you want to explore or you don't want to explore. There are plenty of people who want to sit still and live in complacency and live with what they want. for themselves in that moment, that's their choice. But if you're anything like me and you're listening to this, you want to move. You want to grow. You want to believe. You want to hope. You want to create. You want to expand and augment. And if that's the case, we certainly cannot do it moving forward, standing still. My whole concept of the valley, the mountain, and the volcano, I like that concept because you can't visualize it without being in motion. You can't get through a valley, over a mountain, and conquer going over a volcano if you're standing still. You have to embrace every single moment, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good meaning the valley, the bad meaning the mountain, the ugly meaning the volcano. You have to face it. And it just repeats. But this is the good thing about what we have to do as individuals. I remember, and I've told this story before on the bear.wolf.trek. Effort. Giving more. When I was in high school, I believe I was a sophomore. It was about a year after my dad had died. And I remember being in shop class, and we were supposed to make this little bookcase. It was like a little small bookcase that you would put at the end of your desk or a table, small table. Everybody made these in school. If you're in shop class, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was in the habit of skipping school. I was not healed at all from my father dying. I was in a bad spot, and I just was going through emotions I didn't understand. I didn't have a lot of people to talk to about it. You know, I didn't have a lot of people who could empathize with me about this, and I just kind of numbed myself to it and try to get through each day. But it forced me in a lot of ways to want to run from things at the same time. So I would go to school, but I would skip a lot. So a lot of days I would skip steps. So when I come back to school, everybody else is like 3 days ahead of me, and I'm still catching up from 3 days ago because I decided I didn't want to go to school. And the interesting thing about it is that my teacher was also, like a lot of schools, you know, you have the athletic teachers would do, you know, history class, would do shops and medals and drafting, but they were also the athletic coaches. This guy was a football coach, one of the football coaches. And I think he was junior varsity head football coach. And he would come over to me and say, "Hey, Mike, what the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm grinding down this wood here, man." I was like, I'm working on this bookcase. You gave me the assignment. I'm working on this bookcase. He's like, "No, you're not." I'm like, "Yes, I am. Look at me. I've been in here the whole time." He goes, "Dude, you're not. I've been looking at you over here. Do the same thing for 20 minutes. You should have moved on to this step over here." And in my mind, I'm like, I've been working my ass off. How are you going to come over here and tell me that I'm not working hard? And he stopped me. He goes, "Listen, man, it's a lack of effort. Yes, you're working, but you're not working hard enough. You could give more in this situation. You could put much more work into this situation. If you really wanted to catch up with these guys, you're smart. You would catch up with them right now, today, if you wanted to. They're not moving that fast." He was like, "You need to push yourself. And not just in here, but in everywhere in your life." And then he walked off and just left me. He was like, "If you don't want to work hard," basically he was like, "You know what, forget you then, flunk out." He walked off. And I remember standing there and being like, what is he talking about? Like, what is this effort? I never had anybody talk to me like that. And I was looking, I'm like, I guess he just means push yourself, go faster. And of course I knew what effort mean, but to actually intentionally be like, okay, I'm going to prove him wrong. And it was something that he was doing. I knew what he was doing. He was challenging me. And I wanted to prove him wrong. And I ended up catching up that day from 3 days behind, catching up to everybody else, and I was able to finish. And he came over to me the next day and goes, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, I told you, I knew you could do it." And that day was when I realized what putting extra effort into everything really meant. Now, of course, I'm a kid. I was 16 years old. I didn't do it everything in my life. But I remember that being something that I never forgot. I would never forget him. I would never forget that room. I'll never forget that moment. And his name was Mr. Chance, by the way. Chance. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. And I remember saying to myself, one day I'm going to contact him and say thank you. I've never done it. But I always thought back then we didn't have Facebook and all this stuff back then, so I forgot about it. So at some point I am going to contact Mr. Chance and I'm going to say thank you for giving me that message, because now he probably won't remember it. He's an old man right now, I would imagine, but he won't remember it. But I will feel better by telling him. And I always thought of that, even when I failed, because he would pop in my mind. Every time I would give half an effort, he would pop in. Now, sometimes I was able to ignore him in my brain, but there was other times where I was like, I need this, so I remember it. And now, as an adult, especially being a life coach, he's in my mind all the time telling me, it's a lack of effort, Michael. You can do it. It's burned into my brain, and I can't get it out. And when I don't go hard, if I don't push myself, like with these podcasts, as you can see, I don't do anything half effort. I always go 100%, and that is just my baseline. If I can go over, I'm going for more than 100. If I can't do it and it's bringing me stress, that's a completely different story. And we'll get into this right now. When you worry, sometimes you are going too hard, and you don't have to. We look at other people and we say, wow, look at David Goggins. He's running ultra marathons. I should be doing that. As a marathon runner, I don't need to run ultra marathons. 13 miles, 26 miles is enough for me. I don't have to run 50 or 100. It's a goal to run 50. But if I don't do it, I'm not going to say my life was a failure as a runner. I'm running marathons at 42. I'm good. That's a goal completed. Cross off the bucket list. So there are other times where we can go with our careers and with relationships where we're going 100%, but we're stressed out. It's not serving us in the way that we think we should. And that's when we have to start evaluating, okay, is this right for me? Is this person right for me? Is this place right for me? Is this thing right for me? And we have to ask ourselves hard questions, and we have to be able to walk away and mean it when we have to. Because if it doesn't serve us, and there's no effort coming in on the other side of those relationships, or there's something that we have that's a physical thing that's not serving us, or there's some place that we're at that's not serving us, we have to really look into that. And people really, that's the focus with these things when it comes to effort and giving more, because it's hard for an inanimate object to give more to you, or a place to give more to you intentionally. Whereas people, we can view that. We can give in a relationship and not get that effort back. And we have to make a hard decision, walk away, meaning if we have to. You have to jettison what you don't think is serving you and mean it. If there's no change and growth on the other side and you're putting in all the work, what can you do? So if that's the case, we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, are we the ones who are not putting in enough effort? Are we the ones who are not doing enough? Are we doing exactly what they want us to do? Are we meeting equal ground? Any relationship can work if there's good communication, and two people can, through effort, really work things out instead of running. Because that's what ruins relationships these days is and I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, it's even with jobs. And again, like, you know, if you're groups and friends and things like that, miscommunication, not communicating effectively, and not having the respect enough to listen to someone else and to be able to truly try to get in their shoes and understand where they're coming from, that's hard to do for a lot of people. For some people it's easy. For me it's easy, but it's not so easy for other people. And we start taking on challenges in certain areas in our lives. Again, we can move out of relationships and start talking about other things like, you know, jobs and things like that. If it's adding stress, you know when a job adds stress to you, or, you know, if you're at church and it doesn't feel right, or if you're in a group and it doesn't feel right, you know it. And if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't make you a loser. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means it doesn't feel right for you. Congratulations if it feels right for the others that are enjoying it, but for you it's not feeling right. And no one has a right to tell you that you should be at a certain place or doing a certain thing or be with a certain person just because they believe you should. Because if they were in your shoes, they would. Well, then that's their shoes. They can walk wherever they want in their shoes. These are your shoes, and you get to make your decisions. And what's great about being able to make these decisions is that once you realize what you're aligned with and things become easier, you just notice that everything just starts blooming, just like a flower off of a tree. Things just become easy, and even though you are creating, you notice that the creative process has a lot more options, therefore it's a lot easier, a lot less stress. Your anxiety starts to decrease. The difficulty of life seems to get easier. Never goes away. There's always going to be difficulties, but they're easier to manage. You find you have people in your life who truly support you and will back you up, and they understand, and they're patient understanding with you to a point where you have no choice but want to do that for them because it means so much to you if you truly care. Some people don't, but if you truly care, it means something. And that's the goal. The goal is to have the easiest days you possibly could have while being able to push yourself into areas of difficulty if you choose to. I like pushing myself. I got like 50 of myself. I like pushing myself in areas of difficulty, quote unquote, in the form of challenges. Again, marathon runner, I like to challenge myself with my running. I like to challenge myself at work. I like to challenge myself in my relationships, being a better person for the person I'm with. They deserve that because I deserve that. If I'm putting effort, they are putting in the effort. We both deserve it. And that is what is, again, the gifts of life. When you give more and you're not giving up, you're not running. You're going to say, okay, well, if this is important to me, if I really love this person, if I love this thing, I love this place, I'm going to make it a priority and I'm going to make it work no matter what. Otherwise, you make the person feel useless and worthless. The thing has no value. The place has no value. Giving up is one of the weakest things you can do when there's no excuse for it. And I think that is what a lot of people, when we get in situations where someone may want to judge us, they'll place it on there. They'll say, well, why'd you do this? It's not so much about giving up more than there's different versions of that. If you're gonna give up completely and there's no pursuit of said thing afterwards, but you want said thing, you gave up. You can't want a relationship, be in one, and give up and say you want to be in a relationship. That's not how that works. If there's something you want, then again, walk away and mean it, but pursue what you really want. And I am the person, if I leave a job, I'm pursuing a job that's going to be better suited for me long term, better for my family, better for me financially, that makes sense and brings me peace, joy, and happiness. And when I find it, I'm fine. Everything blooms, everything is at peace. Same with my relationships. When I find someone that brings me joy and happiness and can communicate effectively, they're not running, I appreciate that. I want that. I want to give that to them, and I want to be better for them each day because they're going to be better for me each day. If there's a place that I want to be at, if there's a place that brings me joy and peace, I want to go to those places and I want to enjoy those places. And these are things that, again, if you had all those things and they're great in your life, you don't give up on them. You're going to make them work no matter what, because that happiness is a priority for you. But in order to do that, you have to give more. You have to earn these things. There are privileges, not rights. Being in a healthy relationship is a privilege through hard effort. Hard effort. Not easy complacency. Putting in the effort because this person is worth it. No excuses. Putting in the effort. Accountability and ownership on your part. Each party has that responsibility. And giving more, not giving up, will lead to the worry going away. I worry so much less when I'm giving more. When each day, when I have every excuse not to go hard, and I go hard, I find myself having the best day, even on days where it's complete horrible shit. I find the best day out of those days because there are so many things I'm grateful for. And it forces me to remind myself, if I choose to go there in my mind, if I'm having a bad day, I say, hey, wow, I am getting through this day, even though I have every reason to give up, to run. Same in relationships. I have every reason to run from this relationship, but I am going to give every single bit of who I am in it and not give up, and try to give as much as I can, give more each and every day, to do more, because that is what a relationship is about. I am supposed to bring my best. Everyone is not perfect. Each and every day, there are things that are going to happen. We go through seasons where things get bad. It may last for months. It may last for years. We all go through these things. Should not be defined by them or judged by them. It's what we're doing in the moment. What's our mindset? And do we trust ourselves? And do we have people around us who trust us and believe in us and want to encourage us and give us reassurance that we are a priority in their lives enough where they're not going to give up on us and we're not giving up on them? Powerful unions are built that way. Powerful things will come into your life. Powerful things will come into your life when you trust yourself and give more. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. We rise and maintain balance.